All right, we continue with our live coverage on the story in Marshalltown this morning. That's where we find my co-anchor Ayanda Nyathi and our reporter Zikona Chona, who are both at the scene. Ayanda, shall we begin with you this morning at 7 o'clock? You know, I think back to 7 o'clock yesterday morning where the death toll was steadily increasing. The horror of what happened, I think, still sinking in for us and no doubt for the people affected.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually quite difficult to consider that at that time very few people would have imagined just how large a story will be and just how vast and deep the devastation itself would ultimately become. 24 hours ago, we weren't even at around 40 fatalities, if memory serves, and now we're sitting with at least 74 confirmed deaths. The obvious question now is about what happens next, but now that the sun is up, let me perhaps give you a better sense of what the building itself is looking before we engage some of the local government officials who are here to get you a sense of what they reckon the next steps should be. So there's this building at the center of this devastating story, at the corner of Delva and Albert Street. The roads at this intersection have now been opened, and that's why you're seeing people who are walking presumably to work at this hour, and some of those who are being commuted via taxis. But you'd be forgiven, you know, if you perhaps missed the fact that about 24 hours ago, officials were still battling the remnants of this blaze, with smoke still billowing from some of the floors of this particular building, and in some instances, them pouring water into the building in an attempt to ensure that there aren't any flare-ups from the debris that was stuck inside there. But yeah, you know, at some stage, we're going to have to start asking questions about how a tragedy like this could have taken place to begin with, and perhaps let's attempt starting to get those answers. Joining us now is Councillor Mongameli Mnyameni, who is a local ward councillor here in Marshalltown, and in fact was here yesterday morning, was with the President last night, and is back at the scene again. Councillor, thanks for speaking to us. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Let's begin by perhaps taking stock of what's happened to those who've survived this fire, many of them, of course, desperate for shelter.
You know, good morning to the viewers. Yes, yesterday we managed to get 3 places for the people who have survived the victims. Then they were taken each at Bez Valley Recurrence Center and Hillbrow Kaya shelter, and also Impilo shelter, then in Fairview. All of them, I think there are plus minus 150 people that were relocated there. They are there, they slept there yesterday. At least they managed to get a shelter over their head. But whereas there are some few of them wanted to go to the shelter or resisted. I think the reason for them to go there, they were skeptical in terms to their foreign national. They thought maybe they will be deported or arrested for such. But we spoke to them yesterday to confirm that no, they must feel free. The city is a caring city, is a city who put the lives of the people at first. Then nobody will be arrested, will be treated the same as South African. They will not be treated as a nationality whatsoever. But unfortunately, they wanted to go.
Well, Councillor, to be fair, the same caring city is the one that allowed the building to be hijacked, and here we are. But there are also a number of them, of course, who are willing to identify their loved ones. Sadly, some of those who've died, their bodies were burned beyond recognition. Do you know what that process entails, the identification process?
Okay. The identification process, it will be done today. Then hence we're capturing the data for the families or those who lost their loved ones, those who don't know whether they are passed away or they are in hospital. But today they will be able to go to the hospital and also to go to the mortuaries in order to view the body so that they can confirm where their loved ones are. But it's important also to know that people there are grandstanding. They were here yesterday, as we are saying that, you know, as I said, is a caring city. But you must also remember the government that was there before in 2016, when this building was initially hijacked in 2019. Then it was the government that was led by the DA, hence by Mayor Herman Mashaba. Those are the people who were grandstanding yesterday, giving a false information because they failed dismally. I've raised several times the issues of this building that is hijacked. There was a time that we even did a raid here together with GMPD, the SABS and the CRAM, where we arrested about 440 illegal immigrants, and one guy was collecting a rent, was arrested at Joburg Central Police Station.
And you know, Councillor, this was the real fear, that less than 24 hours after what's taken place, there'll be mudslinging, political finger-pointing that's taken place, and it seems we're starting to see the early signs of that. The President was here yesterday. You engaged him. Part of what he said is that everybody, frankly, should take accountability and responsibility. What accountability do you reckon the council that you form a part of should take for these lives that have been lost?
No, the council is already taking a decision, and they are really committed, more especially the government of the GLU, then is taking a serious decision, a commitment to make it so to identify, doing an audit to identify this building that are hijacked. Some are belonging to the city, to the province, and some are private, so that after the data is being collected, this building will be turned to a student accommodation like this one you've seen behind us, and the others will be turned as a low-cost accommodation for the people who are looking for accommodation. Then at least, and some of the building will be turned into businesses, so that the businesses are playing a vital role within the society. That is what the commitment the government of local unity is doing, and I'm 100% sure that they are committed and it's going to be happening.
Right, and hopefully history won't repeat itself, because I shudder at the thought of what happens if, as has been the case before, words are said and nothing really materializes. But Councillor Mongameli Mnyameni, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really do appreciate it. On this Friday morning here in Marshalltown, the councillor is among those who are among the first respondents. I think that's certainly a fair statement. He was here when we arrived yesterday. Once again, he engaged the President, who was here last night, and is back again, I imagine, to try to take stock of what happens the morning after. As always, we're watching this from a number of vantage points for you. Zikhona Chona is part of our team on the ground. She's at a different angle, so to speak, of the building itself. And Zikhona, what can you see from your vantage point?
All right, and where I am, we're a little bit closer to the windows that people use to jump out of this building. And I'm just going to step out so you can see those curtains there. Those are things that people were trying to use to get out of the building. We understand that there were parents who are using these curtains and other things just to try and save their children as well. So a lot of people managed to escape the fire through their windows. We understand that the fire started on the first floor and quickly spread right through this 5-story building, devastating. As we now know, the number of deaths stands at above 70, with a huge number of people still receiving treatment. The city has provided alternative accommodation for people in and around the city. In Hillbrow, we know that there are shelters there, but also those family members who wish to identify their loved ones have been urged to go to Deep Kloof Mortuary, where we expect the Gauteng Health Department to start the process of making sure that people do get to identify their loved ones. But of course, yesterday was a difficult day, a devastating day, a long day for family members who came out here desperately trying to see whether their loved ones made it out of this fire alive or not. We heard harrowing accounts from people of how they escaped the fire. Even the neighbors themselves have been traumatized by this. We understand that the fire started around just past 12 yesterday morning, and it was the neighboring a complex. Residents there were able to be the ones that were able to call the police and call emergency services so that people can be helped out of here. But the security guard we spoke to late last night says he will never forget what he experienced there yesterday, just hearing people crying from this building, and he himself having to break windows and try and get people out of there. But of course, as this is a developing story, this is still a crime scene. It's still secured. Those who live here are still urged to not try and come anywhere near this building, as we do expect more investigation to continue.
Zikhona Chona and Ayanda Nyathi with the latest there from the Marshalltown fire. Now just over 24 hours since that fire engulfed that residential building, killing 74 people. To both of you, thanks very much.